Hello and welcome to another episode of The Captain's Table. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at TheAstroPub, your professor on the Astro Historian, and your facilitator here on the Captain's Table podcast. Welcome to 2025. This is, I guess, the first official year that the Captain's Table podcast is going to be on its own channel. So if you're watching this live, down below there's going to be a link on YouTube, I should say. Down below there's a link specifically for where this will be in the future. So where you can find this recorded. And if you're watching this in recording, hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this, and or if you are a fan of it and past there, so that way you can get up to date. I'm trying to get that channel up and going, and currently have something like 370-ish subscribers. And to get so that YouTube starts promoting it again, you have to get to like 1,000 subscribers. So hopefully you enjoyed that. All right. With that all being said, let's introduce our cast today, starting with a kitty cat. My cat has been on a tear recently, so I understand exactly why that moment.
He won't stop bugging me, so I'm like, dude, you're coming up here.
Another veteran who's come back recently, Miss Humek. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Hey there, my name's MANCHACA. I have been a backer of Star Citizen since 2014. Been following it since Kickstarter and started making content all the way back in 2017, very sporadically, off and on, and then I entirely stopped playing Star Citizen almost 3 years ago now. So yeah, I guess it's almost 3 years. I just needed a break, for mental health and just to let the project marinate and do its thing. Where you can find me is at Twitch TV/Humeca. Also, I'm at Humeca on YouTube. I do D&D streams, and I've been recently picking up Star Citizen. I have a new schedule coming up, which is going to be Monday through Wednesday in the evenings PST. So yeah, that's the relevant stuff right now.
Awesome. Yeah, you like longtime viewers of the Captain's Table remember you used to be on pretty frequently actually in the Captain's Table back in the day. So it's good to have you back.
Yeah,
welcome back to the community. So
thank you.
And then Mr. Andy, Mr. Radar Ranger, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
First of all, I'm a little shocked because my shirt is supposed to be green. I don't know if that's me doing that or if that's you.
It's so me. Hold on.
I'm like, okay.
Hold on, I know what's going on. I have a
I'm like a forest ghost. Look at that.
You inherited the green screen.
Ooh, there we go.
There we go.
Ethereal. Oh my gosh.
So I am Radar Ranger, aka Andy Green. I'm CEO of a company called My Radar. We make a popular weather app here in the States. The connection to Star Citizen there is that way back in 2017 we did this collaboration with CIG where we took the moons from Star Citizen from Stanton and made it so you could browse those moons in our mobile app on the phone. And it was kind of neat. It showed where the outposts were and things like that. It was when the planets were brand new, so it was kind of cool to be able to browse them offline. That was a really fun collaboration. I would love to do it again. The technology changed so much, so we wound up having to pull the plug on it, but it was a lot of fun. Regardless of that, though, I am still a mega Star Citizen uber nerd, as I like to say. I have been a backer since 2012. I've spent more money than God on this game, could put somebody through college on it. I just really am a big firm believer in it, and I play it a lot. And you can find me on Blue Sky as A Green. That's my name. And you can also find me in Gun Rush making people cry or being the one crying because I'm getting my butt kicked.
Yeah.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we have one of the captains of industry of the Star Citizen community, Mr. Red Monster SC. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm Red Monster SC. I am on Twitch and YouTube, doing live streams a couple times a week. I'm also on Twitter and Blue Sky, just at Red Monster SC. And yeah, you can find me out there doing mining, salvage. I run an org called the Red Legion that is an industrial focused, but we've got got our hands in a couple of pots to support that. We're trying to be that industrial powerhouse of the verse, and working on that. So. Yeah, that's where you can find me, and yeah, I'm excited to be back again. So,
am I remembering correctly? But didn't they shout you out a couple times for because they're tracking you because they're like, oh well, Red Monster's gonna be happy with this, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when Thorsten was talking about some of the updated mining that's going to come into the future, he had talked about kind of the community-driven charts, which I have been producing up until 4.0, but obviously they moved a lot of that data from the client, so I can't go and extract the game files anymore, and we just have to go with the old clipboard method and observe. So.
I know that feeling. But yeah, so it's awesome. Sorry, I'm gonna plug this in real quick. So the theme for today, the topic for today is 4.0. It's we're gonna be talking about 4.0, kind of a post-mortem, looking at it now that it's been out for about a month, a little less than a month, but it's out. And I will caveat, it is out in preview. And even though it is preview, it's basically CIG's way of saying this is it could be so buggy and unstable that it might crash on you and not actually function, but we're actually releasing it. Like all the progress still happens through it. So if you've been waiting for 4.0, note that the 4.0 preview does have progression through to the next patch, whereas 3.24 is being
Retired.
Yeah. So you won't have any progression if you do anything in 3.24. So
behind the shed.
Yeah. It is being sent off to live with the other patches upstate, in a farm upstate. So with 4.0 being out as it is, it was the massive patch. It was the patch that everyone was waiting for. A lot of people, like you, Mecca, who coming back to play the game. It's a big deal. So with that being a big deal, now we've had some time to settle. It's been over the week. They've had some hot fixes. They're working on. They've released 4.0.1 as of this recording. They released 4.0.1 into PTU for everybody. So now that it's sort of moving forward and settled a little bit, how is 4.0? And you're just going to go over the just very basic vibes first, and then we'll kind of dig in a little bit more. So I'll start with you, Red Monster. In your experience, how is 4.0?
Yeah. Well, it was the very long road to 4.0, to paraphrase there. But, my experience so far has been a little mixed. I know that it was launched just before the holidays. There were some deadlines they were trying to reach. And what we got was, in not technically the live release, it was a preview release that really, I think it was CIG hedging against maybe the game becoming unplayable, people being able to roll back to 3.24 that we just left off of. But yeah, I would say as far as disastrous patches, no, it was not up there with a 3.18 that I think a lot of us really remember, have the PTSD from. It cooperates as long as you're in off hours, right? And that's my overall understanding. I'm not going to go run cargo during peak hours. That's early morning type thing, and I get a lot better performance during those times. But beyond that, it's been really great to get Pyro actually in our hands. But as an industrial player, I like to go out there. I want to try and mine, and I am constantly running into NPCs, other players in the asteroid fields. They're all being used for mission locations. Surface mining has been kind of hit and miss. So there's a lot more risk as you're getting into Pyro, but it's been enjoyable. So.
Okay. All right. Radar Ranger, same to you. General vibe of 4.0.
Cool as hell, little buggy. Obviously, like Red Monster said, we've all been waiting for Pyro forever and server meshing forever. And now that it's actually out there and we can go play around with it, it's really kind of cool to get in the game and, be able to go through the jump gates. Everybody's going to remember that first time they went through a jump gate. It's very cool if you want to explore. So if you go in there with the expectations being managed that you want to check stuff out and see the beauty of the game, it's great for that. I'll be honest, I knew that this was going to be a major patch. I knew there were going to be headaches, and so my intention all along has kind of been just to go through and explore a little bit. Like some of the other people here, I kind of avoided some of the main missions and the main game loops that are in there because I know they're going to be buggy. What's the point of going through it if you're going to crash and lose all your work on it? It's just not worth it. And I know we all know that 4.0.1 is right around the corner. So I've been using my time to go in and just look at the scenery, and it's great for that. You know, get familiar with the concepts of going through the jump gate and some of the new weapons and things like that. Maybe a couple bunkers here and there. Nothing that requires a lot of commitment, and it's great for that. If you have the patience to go in and accept it for what it is and enjoy it, if you do that knowing that 4.0.1 is around the corner, that should hopefully fix a lot of the headaches that everybody's kind of experienced right now. It's perfect.
Okay.
It's great.
Himeka, same question to you. Vibes generally with 4.0.
Okay, so started when it was in PTU and preview was announced that it would be persistent. That was my green light essentially. Preview was really rough at first, and then towards the end of it started getting pretty nice. PTU.
Yeah.
So checking out PTU, just seeing how it was going, then I was like, okay. As soon as they were about to move to preview, I was pretty impressed with the performance and stuff. For just general, when it's running smoothly, it is the smoothest I've ever seen the persistent universe move. And so that's been pretty exciting. So it's really been just a tour for me, essentially, going around to different places, sampling missions, that sort of thing. I've done contested zones. It's actually quite fun. And you know, typical Star Citizen sluggishness with the FPS gameplay, but I actually had a great time there. Cargo missions has been pretty buggy. There's just been some very game-breaking things. Fortunately, I haven't really been stuck in hangars all that much, so a lot of server hopping and other just sort of really disastrous moments, but it's a beautiful disaster, and that needs to be said.
It's
Love
a
it.
wonderful
Great
trash
term.
fire. It's a beautiful trash fire. Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
The good way to put it. Maybe a little harsh, but
We all know.
but accurate.
We're all
accurate
playing it.
nonetheless.
We have a higher pain
It's said with
tolerance.
love.
I will say we have a higher pain tolerance because we've been playing this game for so long, so we kind of understand some of the issues. I will say the general vibes that I have with the game with 4.0 is it's the first time I found myself playing when I wasn't streaming actively in years, where I was playing just for enjoying myself. And
I found myself hopping in for the first time in a while, just like casually. I'm like, I have to go do something, but I have a half hour.
Yeah.
I never say that to Star Citizen.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, I got like 2 hours I can kill, and I want to do something. Yeah, I'm gonna go haul some cargo, or you know, go do some stuff like that. So, someone's saying it's true. I see Paul. I've been stalking Paul, and that's all I see other than Gray Zone. I don't actually play Gray Zone at all, so I don't know who. You're probably seeing the wrong person there, but yeah. But no, I do play. I have been playing a lot of my own, with the caveat that I stopped doing it because over the holidays, towards the end of the holidays, because I encountered those wonderful issues that Star Citizen has, where you know you get in a roll and you're like, I'm enjoying myself, and then you hit one bug, and then that bug cascades into 15 bugs, and before you know it, you've lost literally 3/4 of everything you've earned in the game so far, and you're like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna take a break now.
you're
You know?
repairing your character a bunch,
Yeah.
and it's at the point where you're starting to mess with files, and it's like, okay, this is getting a little hairy. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna step away. And
You know,
It's the Star Citizen cascade, right? You have one
Yeah.
bug that then triggers some chain reaction of terribleness. So
yeah,
I gotta say this: we're all veteran players here, and it's very telling that we're all saying the same thing. You know, we enjoy it a lot, but the bugs are keeping us from playing, and I think that is very illustrative of why they are trying to focus on playability. And I think it's a smart idea. But I'm sure we're going to get into that later.
Oh yeah, no, I think
Oh, yeah.
it's important that I think that I mean, luckily, I think most of us here have not experienced the 60K error, which prevented you from even getting into a game. You did? Once?
Yeah, just once. It was a 616, 616, something
Okay.
like that. I don't know exactly
Yeah.
what that one was. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
yeah, that did happen to me, I think, last week. And I
Ditto.
was like, okay, this has degraded to a point where it's getting bad. So
So there's definitely some issues there. And that has prevented some people from playing. So I understand why some people are just absolutely frustrated by what has gone on with Star Citizen with this patch, and some people like had an awful time. But I would say the general vibe that I've heard from most people is the performance is fantastic. And I'll say that's the one thing that's insane is how good the performance is, even in servers that are max quality. And I've heard some people having some issues, but you know.
That was the point of server meshing. So at least we got it.
Yeah.
That's one thing we got. Better performance.
It's crazy
and,
to see 600 people in a shard.
Yeah.
And then like see 150 people on your server kind of thing.
I was just gonna bring up the player cap now. You know, if you got general chat open still, first off, why? But also like it is just a constant scroll with that many players being active. So
the one thing that I will say that I've noticed is that once you get past some of the login issues, most of the bugs that I've encountered are bugs that are legacy bugs that have existed either in 3.23 and 3.24, which CIG hasn't fixed yet, or bugs that are like old bugs that are coming back, bugs that were fixed 3 years ago, 5 years ago, are now suddenly showing up again. And for me, at least, that seems like a good sign, because it means I believe what they're doing is, because they, in the process of making server meshing, they probably had to rip up a bunch of old legacy systems, and fixes for those problems were in those legacy systems. And so they're ripping up the system with the patch. So now that that patch is gone, they haven't had time to apply that to the new systems to make it work properly. So now it's causing these weird issues to pop up again.
I'm sure various branches had to roll back to a point where they would function together. And so there may be fixes existing that would be completely impossible with server meshing or something like that.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's why.
But for me, that's actually good, because they know how to fix that. So if they've done it for once, hopefully it means they could be able to fix a lot of those issues pretty frequently. And with 4.0.1, that patch branch so far, it seems like some of those fixes are already in. Like they have some of those issues. I haven't played it extensively enough to know that if it's 100% the case. I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me and be like, nope, they haven't fixed any of them. But we'll see, is what I'm trying to say. But that's at least the current vibe. It's buggy, but it's better than it used to be. It's an impressive improvement. We're all happy with Pyro, but there's issues still. There's stuff in the issues they need to work out. I'll start with this next question for you, Himek, and then we'll kind of go back the other way.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest issues with this patch? Like, if you would have to point something out, something that specifically that was like causing you the most consternation.
I just got to say of course, the things that we've been talking about, and like trying to coordinate something. I had a situation where I was trying to play with someone and they kept having issues with getting to where we're going, and just setup time got really expanded by these bugs, people getting stuck in hangars, having to go rescue them across 2 systems now. So I'd be like deep in Pyro, have to go all the way into Stanton to go pick someone up from a station because stuff is broken. And that just added to a lot of the issues. The other thing I was noticing is just general inconsistencies with the inventory, moving cargo, things disappearing, things becoming illegal randomly. Like suddenly I have stolen cargo even though it was my mission cargo, stuff like that. Just Again, it's just it comes down to performance. It comes down to the stability of it and the consistency of it. It's really hard to know what you're gonna get with 4.0.
Okay. Radar, same question to you. What are some of your biggest issues, your biggest bugbears, your things that are pernicious, that are problematic? You're just going like, nope, I hate this.
Let me pull out my list. Honestly, I think that's the problem. There's no one big issue. There are too many small issues that wind up breaking the game. So falling through planets, inventory not working properly, weapons disappearing on you, cargo issues, falling through the planet. There's just so many of them, and they're smallish things that don't happen frequently. So they're really hard to troubleshoot. It's not like they happen all the time. If they were super common, they'd be easy for them to debug and fix before they even put it out. You know, it's not until you get it at scale where people are actually playing these new areas that they've created, you know, the contested zones and all that. It isn't until it gets in the hands of players where these problems really start to manifest, and having enough debug data to really replicate the problem so you can identify it and fix it is what, you know, causes the biggest issue. So I'd be really hard pressed to give you just one. There's just too many small little things, and that is the crux of it. There's a lot of them.
As Humeka said in chat, death by 1,000 cuts sort of situation.
Yeah, that is a very good way to put it. Yeah.
Red Monster, same with yachts. Same with you. The biggest issues you've been experiencing with 4.0.
Just getting ships out of the hangars at some of the pyro stations. I know like Checkmate's a good central one, but I've had entire times where I'll try and pull the ship. It'll fall through the hangar floor. The hangar floor will kind of shutter off and on. You know, that just being able to get your ship is like step one in being able to do Star Citizen. And it seems that it's not always cooperating. There are some old bugs that have really been a pain. So like scanning issues, not being consistent. Some of the things that I think with the 4.0 code base changed over, they're working on getting fixed. It sounds like they are fixed in 4.01 PTU. But yeah, those types of a little bit of the rough edges that might have been polished out if they didn't have to meet a deadline, and you know, obviously working on a new patch cycle to get those done. But
okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's the tiny things that add up, like trying to deliver something to a box to a location only for that the above ground elevators, cargo elevators, to just not latch on. You just literally can't attach them at all, and they won't accept them. Or like if a ship is too close, it might block those areas, or missions just not even acknowledging you have cargo. Things like in early 4.0, quantuming to the center of the star constantly, instead of going where you're supposed to.
Oh my god.
Having to claim your ship after storing it, eating all your you know, if you try to like leave cargo on a ship and then you store it, you may require to claim it, so you've lost all your cargo and anything on it. It's those sorts of issues. And even with 4.0 right now, there's still a lot of those problems. And I would say the biggest problem that most people mention is the black screen bug, the black screen 30K, where your servers goes down entirely, but because you can't actually click the OK, you have to kind of Alt F4, and that ruins any progression, and it can change a lot of other problems like that.
I haven't experienced that. That sounds awful.
It happens infrequently.
Okay.
But it used to be one that would happen every time. And it could cause your characters to like 6030 error, so like you're just completely locked out.
Yeah.
And it was really problematic with things like conflict zones or contested zones.
Okay.
So like you would go into a contested zone, get to the end, and then you'd black screen 30K out. It's like, okay, I wasted my card, you know.
That is totally something that would ruin your experience and make you never want to go in again.
Yeah, and it's that's the problem, is that like things like that, where you're reliant on a stable client to be able to get through these sections, which is going to take you an hour or two with a group of people.
Yeah.
It takes you an hour to get people together. make sure everyone's geared up. You go through, you do the things, you fight other players, like you're careful. You get through the key slot and get in, and then once you get through the key slot and get in, it's just like crash. It's like,
Yeah.
well, there goes 3 hours.
aside
All
from-
motivation gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from crashes, like one of the other bugs that's been like a real kick in the inseam is the reclaimer. Trying to get boxes off of it, you got to put them down the rear chute or the elevator, and it's just time consuming. Like we had a 4-hour long run in a reclaimer, a whole bunch of RMC, a whole bunch of materials, and we had offloaded the first 2 boxes, and the entire ship glitched out. It started rocking around, and it exploded. Right, and I got like 12 boxes of construction materials, and like millions of credits just vanished.
Mm-hmm.
So
The reclaimer seems like Collision City. Like I
Uh-huh.
don't own one. I haven't been playing with one, but when I see videos of them, I'm like, there is something just engineeringly wrong with this.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, Radar.
No, I didn't mean to do the same here. I was kind of like babbling here. I don't know if you're going to get into this later on, but it really, we kind of knew this was going to happen. 4.0 was always going to be a huge undertaking because of the amount of code that was changing under the hood. And I said it last year, be very patient and manage your expectations that everything's going to be very buggy for a while.
Mhm.
CIG has kind of met this crossroads where they need to show progress, and they needed to get 4.0 out so that people could actually get it in their hands, but they had to do it within a time frame that might have prohibited them from tackling as many bugs as they wanted. And this is the result. I'm not saying that they did the wrong thing.
Mhm.
I'm not saying they did the right thing, but this is just part and parcel for public development, open development, where the players get their hands on the game as soon as it's available, straight from developers into the hands with minimal testing.
Yeah.
And, I think for those of us, like the veteran players, we've all expressed the frustration here, but we've also expressed our understanding of it. Yeah. And the issue that I think CIG is having in the broader term is not with the veteran players, but with new people who come in, get disgruntled, and leave immediately.
We'll talk about that. That's going to be the thing we're going to wrap up with, is like talking about the people who are coming back from long hiatuses, or people who are brand new, maybe friends of yours who might be interested in the game, that kind of thing. We'll talk about that towards the end, about like, should they come in with 4.0. Now we talked about like the vibes and the downsides. Let's talk about the good stuff, the stuff that like really shines in 4.0. I'll start with you on this one, Red Monster.
I've really enjoyed exploring a lot of Pyro, the new system and new challenges that it brings. Obviously, it brings a lot more combat, and I'm your typical space dad. I'm not going to go out there and try and find fights on purpose. But I've enjoyed they took it to another level with the current planets. There's a lot of really great, interesting looking locations, the biomes, and the actual terrain that I've been able to get out and explore has been really fascinating. That compared with some new mineable materials that we haven't seen a refresh on for a long time. It's going to be changing again in the future, but the few that we've got now, people can go out and do ice mining. It's an interesting concept, but not one that's very profitable. So, but yeah, that's I would say definitely the planetary team did some great work in the Pyro system.
Radar, things that shine for you for 4.0, things that are really good.
Polaris, jump gates, Pyro. Having the Polaris in the game, obviously, again, another ship that's been announced and out there for a while. Everybody was really waiting on it. They knocked it out of the park. It's a beautiful ship. It's nice and big. It really opened up. It's the early indicator of what the possibilities are for multi-crew gameplay. A lot of people love it. Taking that, the next thing is the jump gates. Being able to take something like that through the jump gates is an experience. It's a lot of fun. The jump gates were beautiful. They were a little bit buggy at first, and I was in their early testing, and it was sometimes hard to imagine it ever working. Like, are they ever going to be able to make it work? But in the current iteration, they work great. Pull up, You know, the gate goes through its motions, it opens up, and you ride through it, and you come out the other end. Beautiful job. I think the way it manifested from the concepts that they introduced years ago, nailed it. And then lastly, like Red Monster said, pyro, it is stunning. You see so many glamour shots on social media with people posting pictures of, you know, the clouds and the shadows, and the yellow fields on Bloom are just like, holy shit balls, excuse me. I've got a bunch of these really beautiful shots of being in front of a ship with the sun coming up and the shadows being cast in the gold fields and the mountains and the clouds. It's really beautiful. And, you know, put that against the backdrop of what they showed at CitizenCon and what we're in store for. In other words, this is not the peak of it. It's going to only get better from here. Mm-hmm. Just astonishing. So my hat's off as well to the Planet team and the Planet Tech team and the art. You guys really nailed it. And I can't wait to see what else comes from this. So those are my big three.
Yeah. Mecca, same with you. Your standout shining moments of 4.0.
I'd say I love the expedience at which you can experience different content. You can go from casual, calm cargo hauling, running around. Yes, you can cargo haul in pyro without dying, but sometimes you die a lot. It really depends on where you're going, how you're doing it. Or you can go into a station with some friends and get sweaty and do, you know, contested zones and have that kind of gameplay. And I just love how fluid pyro feels, going from system to system, the emergent gameplay opportunities, and as said before, the vistas are amazing. I haven't explored all places yet, but I'm really loving what I'm seeing. The scale of mountains now is amazing. Like they're really proper steep, and that I'm super appreciating. Also, it's my first experience with like Star Citizen's new like cargo system, using the tractor beams to load and unload ships. I now have the Star Lancer Max. That thing's a beaut to load. I love that thing. Just the way they designed it with the saddlebag type of deal. Really enjoying that ship. I don't know. It feels more alive, and just having just to mention the increased player cap is quite amazing, and I'm really looking forward to where we're going. It's a good direction. Yeah.
Emeka, forgive me for asking, because I know you probably said it already, but how long of a break did you take?
Almost 3 years. So
3 years.
This
So
spring will be 3 years.
So what was the last version that you played? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
Like 310, 3. No, it was more.
Yeah.
It was.
I played 318.
318.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So like
Is that what made you
I
leave?
think yeah. Honestly, the pain. The pain.
So it might have been.
I'm like, I already slogged through years of like 7 FPS in like the 2.x era. The pain.
I will say I'm going to say the lore guy answer, which is NPCs talk to each other now everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And it's so immersive because it's not like they were like really chatty in some of the builds, but I think they've kind of dialed in the behavior enough because it's now interesting enough where like you're sitting there, you know, going through your cargo, like maybe going through, not cargo, but going through like your equipment. Like you go into a kiosk and you're like kind of changing things out to go into a contested zone. And, you know, by a fire, you hear two people just discussing about like the profit of pyro and you know, or talking about like, you know, where they're going to go, or talking about going to a friend's funeral or something like that. And it's like, wow, this feels like people are alive. It feels like it's very Oblivion dialogue right now.
Sure.
where they kind of are really weird. Their responses are very, very like neutral, but like it's so much more immersive to hear them talking as they're walking around. And the AI in general, they're a lot better, from the combat dialogue to the combat behavior to their just general walking around behavior. They're still a little derpy, and it's always funny to walk into a pyro station where somebody has triggered them and you see all of the guards immediately move towards them with their guns raised. I don't think they actually shoot anybody, but they're like,
the vendors will pop out with their guns raised, and everyone's like crowding around something.
Yeah. It feels like almost as if I don't think it's the case, but it's almost as if CIG actually had a triggering event where they just will act like something is active. So you see them running around with their guns out. So it feels more like, oh, this is lawless
A
station.
dangerous place.
Yeah, dangerous place.
To add to that, I will say that going down to the new outposts with buildings that look like buildings, walking in, having NPCs sitting there with their tea or their cup or whatever, conversations happening, guards going on. I felt like I was visiting someone's home, and that was the first time I've really experienced that in Star Citizen. I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of like bothering them. Excuse me while I deal with your fuses. I'm so sorry. Go back to watching your TV show or whatever you were doing.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah, and combining that with like say the jump points, it feels like the first time I went through a jump point in 4.0 preview, I saw other players flying around was the moment I was like, is this a game? Am I playing a game now? Because it feels like an MMO, like where anybody who's played an MMO will have the experience of where you're going into the main city and people are running past you, other people are like away from you, some people are running past you, or they're doing weird things when they're jump running as they're running on through. But it's like you feel people running around you as you're moving through the world. You feel
it's getting
like,
there, yeah.
And that's what it felt like. Was like these are all people who are also players who are running around.
One thing that does deserve to get called out. Sorry if you had a thought you were going into. And there's been some chatter about it in chat, but the soundtrack.
I was going to say that, yeah.
The musical score and everything, like going through the jump tunnel, yeah, like you're turning your music volume up if you want to actually have that experience. And if you are not someone who's paid attention to it, just appreciate the score that happens along with your planetary approaches, going through the jump gate. And they've done a fantastic job. So a lot of that was Pedro's work, and I think they really nailed it there.
It feels like, I was going to say, the soundtrack feels like the first time Pedro has had a chance to just sit back and look at the broad scale of what Star Citizen is becoming, and then actually capture that in the music feel. And I think he just absolutely bang on hit it on the head. It went from being Pedro's a good artist and he had some really good songs to Pedro is writing the soundtrack for Star Citizen, and it feels like he's writing the soundtrack for Star Citizen. You're going to say something, Humeka? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, for your first time going through the jump point, definitely have your music turned up. It's quite an experience. And then whenever you visit a new planet, turn that shit on. Sorry if I'm cussing and you're not allowed to.
You're good.
I generally game with my own music. It's just how I am. But I will say the official music has been on a bit more. I'll go back and switch to it just to check it out. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah. And the fact that the system works now, because in the past it was so broken that it would sometimes never even proc properly. Now it actually works when you're going through a jump point or going through, like you can actually hear the stuff. But and the last thing I'll say is the performance. 4.0's performance is just so good. I'm a low end PC now. I have 2070 Super an 11700K Intel i7. So like it's low end. It used to be mid high, now it's low end. And with that lower end PC for my gaming PC, it's doing, in some of the places it's going to chug no matter what, like Lorville and all of the landing zones. It's like, hovering around 30 on average, but there'll be places it spikes to 60 in those areas. And in space, I'm well over 60 for most places.
My friend, you need to upgrade your potato.
I do need to upgrade my potato. Unfortunately, it also costs you the price of a mortgage to upgrade my potato right now, which is I'm in the process of trying to do, raising some money. So
yes.
So a lot of this stuff is there, and I think there's still some criticism for this, and we'll talk about this I think in the question and answer session, because I'm already seeing this in the chat where people are like, all of this and no compelling gameplay, or there's still all these issues, and I think that's a good thing to talk about next, maybe. And I'll start with you on this one, Humeka. Do you think with 4.0 right now, is CIG moving in the right direction with the game?
I think so. I think they want to be there. I think the intention and the design for 4.0 is there. It's happening, especially with the updates that we saw this year with CitizenCon. And it seems like some things are closer than they might be ready to talk about. And could be completely wrong about that. As always, it is Star Citizen.
Yeah.
But I think this framework and this foundation for the system and where it's going is good. The administrative and logistics situation is a problem right now, and I think that's really causing the content to the game to be less of a game right now. Reputation needs to work better. There was some fun stuff immediately when 4.0 started, where the no matter who you were aligned with, you were always getting shot wherever
Yeah.
you were going, and that was kind of fun actually. I was using boxes as I was doing cargo to like block fire from like people up on rooftops. I'm like, I'm delivering your goods. You're fine.
Please stop shooting me. I'm delivering your pizza.
Yeah, so I was enjoying some RP there, but that's part of the make your own fun thing. That's the classic Star Citizen style of gameplay, I would say. No, right now it's an issue.
Radar Ranger, is 4.0 in the right path? Is this the right path for CIG to go down there? Down for?
Absolutely. They had to do all of this stuff. They had to get server meshing out. They had to get jump gates running. They're absolutely running in the right direction for sure. They just have to work through the technical challenges on it. But this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see progress. We wanted to see them get towards server meshing. We wanted to see higher player counts, better performance, everything. Yeah, 100% they're going in the right direction.
Red Monster.
Yeah, it's obviously it's where it needs to go, right? We need to have a dense and populated verse, and that starts with having the ability to bring in large scale groups. The overall feel, I will say one thing I've noticed is that Pyro is kind of really living up to that lawless frontier. I don't find many player-to-player interactions that don't end up with missiles and an exchange of fire, and I'm probably on the losing side of those more than usual. But that's, I think, more to say the lawless system is working. Reputation absolutely has to work, and the things that are that we got known bug issue and bug reports for being addressed. But I think it is pushing things in the right direction, and letting you get in and experience that broader verse. So
yeah, I'll say the same. I'm kind of similar mindset that like what 4.0 was a crafting. It was the last. It's been said a lot of times. It's the last tech hurdle for CIG. It's the last major sort of technical challenge for them to get working. Server meshing was big. Pyro was just the proof of concept of server meshing. The fact that server meshing worked allowed for Pyro to come in, but they needed to have something to show off for server meshing anyways. So it's that sort of aspect. And I think they've really, with Pyro, shown not only where the game is now in terms of all their new tech, but where it will be going. Playing 4.0.1, one of the things that's key is that the Save Stanton mission, which Chapter 2 of Save Stanton is in 4.0.1, it has reputation, and that reputation, who you help, will determine what rewards you get. So it's that start of that reputation cycle where it's like it's clear that they're in that direction with reputation, which is a lot of people were hoping for with 4.0, and we're upset that didn't come in, and move in that direction a lot for that. So
That sounds like a dang video game to me.
yeah. I mean, I logged in for Save Stanton, even though I hadn't played Star Citizen like really hardcore for a while. I play it, casually doing, box missions and such, and playing with the org. But it was the first time I was like, hey, I'm gonna hop in and play it since Overdrive. And I think these style of weekly, monthly, sort of narrative events are the way they're going with it. I think it's a good idea for that one. Now let's wrap this up, because we've kind of talked a little bit about the pros, the cons, the general vibes. The problem is, and I titled this as a very, very clicky baity title, which is this the best patch ever? Mostly because there was a lot of anticipation with this patch. Like there was a lot of pressure. I remember seeing people saying that CIG had to nail 4.0 or would ruin the game. The game is dead. I remember there was a big movement, a big discussion where people were saying you only have one chance to get to make.
We had that discussion.
Yeah, to make a one chance to make a first impression, to make an impression, and that like everything was riding on 4.0 being the best patch ever. So
I feel like that's so dramatic.
it is, but it's also the internet, you know.
Yeah. I'm
You
just
know,
like we don't have to sensationalize anything. It's a video game patch.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was on this show, Paul. We should look back and see what we said.
I remember what we said because we're gonna probably say the same thing. But so the question is 4.0 a good patch? Is it the best patch ever? And is it a good patch? Is it a bad patch? Is it the best patch ever? And generally, would you say like how would you rate 4.0 in terms of patches? And would you suggest people join right now with 4.0 preview as playing right now? Someone who's never played Star Citizen, who you think might be interested in Star Citizen, should they pick up Star Citizen with 4.0 to start the game? Monster, I'm going to start with this one.
Is it the best patch ever? No, because I can see a couple of patches coming up that have some things that I would be very, very interested in, and I feel like there are things coming up with specifically base building and crafting and the blueprint system. Those are going to be my happy place when I start getting those into my hands and actually able to start playing with them. That's what I'm holding out for. Now 4.0 itself. I feel like it's a good patch. There are a couple of known bugs, a couple of priority issues that have been happening. That's part of the nature of doing a big code-based change like this. And obviously, it was a very long road to get this taken care of to the point we had the server meshing, a lot of the back-end tech that relied on that. And like you said, they were going through ripping out old core systems and replacing them in the new 4.0 code base. You're going to run into bugs. A lot of those they're working on. They're still filing off those rough edges. As far as ranking, I'd say it's in the top 30th percentile. Like there have been a few more patches that have been just really rock solid, steady, very few bugs. I think it was 319, 320, where we finally had the unscannable rock fix for mining. And I think prior to when they rebalanced everything back in 314, those, it's definitely nowhere near the bottom half as far as my experience has gone. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's the one. It is a good one, but I've still got some hope.
Okay, Radar, same question. Is how is this patch? Is it the best patch ever? And would you suggest people pick up who've never tried Star Citizen?
I do think it's the best patch ever, by definition. Well,
Okay.
because it's 4.0.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. It's the biggest patch ever because it's by definition because it is 4.0. What it brings to the table is really significant compared to what we've had all along. I mean, obviously 3.0 was pretty big over 2.6, but then again, 4.0 is supposed to be the same kind of jump. Anything to me that is progress forward is a better patch than the last. There are definitely lots of caveats with that. So would I have someone join in now? Yes, but with the caveats that 4.0.1 is around the corner. It's likely to make it much more bearable. And it would also come with a huge standard disclaimer that the game is great, it's in development, expect and manage your expectations, expect bugs. But you'll have fun regardless, and you'll either be a psycho and play all the time or just walk away from it because you can't stand it. But I think it is. I do think it's a huge patch for sure.
And
credit where credit's due.
To that point, I think we'll know when we have the greatest patch ever. We no longer have to have that caveat saying manage your expectations.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
As long as we have that preface, when we can get rid of that, that will be the greatest patch ever.
I guess I should say, is it the greatest patch ever compared to what's come out? Yes. Ideally, there's going to be way better things. Yeah. The Homer Simpson so far. Ideally, we're going to get much better patches in the future. So that's a huge statement.
Yeah, so I think chat's saying your audio's popping. I think it may be just like a connection is loose or something like that, because your audio is fine. There's just little pops coming in there.
Yeah, I wonder if it's me playing with this thing. Maybe.
Might be.
It's kind of crackly.
I'll stop playing with it. Yeah.
There's some interference, is what it is. So I didn't know what it was. Your audio's goes.
Am I coming through this, or is it coming through this? Hello.
It's going through that, I think. Yeah.
Okay, it's through your mic. It's through the mic.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
Yumeka, same question. How would you rate this patch, and would you suggest people come in and play with 4.0?
This patch is necessary hygiene. It's cleaning the wound. It's tearing off the band-aid. It's doing your car's engine oil. This patch was super necessary for Star Citizen to keep going, and I'm glad they did it when they did it, to be honest, with warts and all. Whether we're talking about hitting a date or anything, I'm just glad they got it over with, and now we can start like continuously, making the game better. It's a great patch. I wouldn't say it's the best patch, but for me personally, being away from the game for 3 years, it's what brought me back. So I gotta say it's a pretty damn good patch. It's what made me go, all right, there's some new progression in a new area. There's some new mission types. There's some new things to do. I get to rediscover the game in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's a fantastic patch. I won't say it's the best. I'm going to reserve that for a future date. I'm very much an industrial player, so I'm just sort of like biding my time, waiting for that. Very focused on anything to do with automotive, whether that's a ground vehicle, ships, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You and I are both part of the Ranger Owner Club, so
Yes. So, oh my God, I had something else to say about it. Oh, new players. So, new players join with a friend who knows the game, who can walk you through the bugs. Let someone hold your hand. Now is not the time to go in alone. I wouldn't recommend doing that. You're going to have a rough time, and you're going to get frustrated, especially if you don't know all the little nuances of Star Citizen. Why did you die? Was that a gameplay thing, or was that a bug thing? You need a guide. I wouldn't say go at it alone.
Yeah. It is both the greatest patch ever and also not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Oh, same. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it's the performance, being able to screen capture gameplay in Star Citizen when it is running, it's the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I have a lot of gameplay that's just like really high FPS, just like smooth. It's great.
And that's the thing. It's like is it the Jesus patch? No, because I hate that term and I hate people keep bringing it up. Because there will never be that patch except for 1.0, and even then there'll be better patches after 1.0 because we'll have more content and more features, and the best is yet to come for Star Citizen. And as Andy pointed out, like every patch that moves the bar forward is a good patch, and 4.0 is, I would say, it's hard to recommend to new players, only because you have to have that, as we've said, that caveat. It's an alpha game. It still has issues. Mm-hmm. I think 4.0.1 and maybe 4.1, we might actually start to see more of that movement, especially if CIG is committed to their improving the game this year, rather than focusing on technology, focusing on content and stability and bug fixes and going like that sort of thing that they discussed. I think this would be the best year to get into Star Citizen.
For sure. To actually become a player of the game and be a backer and all that. Yeah, now is the time, honestly. Yeah. It's a great time to actually I think they've really shown a proper vision for the game, a deliverable, a thing that you can actually witness and go, I can compare this to other games. I now know what Star Citizen is. Mm-hmm. What it will be 10 years from now, who knows? But I would say if you're at all interested and it's affordable to you or whatever, now's a good time. Try it for you fly, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I also will say this is, if you've been on the fence about Star Citizen and you haven't purchased it, there is a generous CIG gives you 30 days back if you don't like it. So if you're kind of more of the I want to come in and play, you have a bad time, you can get your money back pretty easily. I don't think they even question it if you request a refund with those 30 days. And usually they're pretty good even after those 30 days. But I will also say that as Star Citizen improves, it's going to get more expensive. And by that, I mean that $45 package is going to become a $50, $55, $60, possibly $70, $80 package in the near future. I think that's what 4.0 really means. So if you are one of those, like often I am, a cheap ass gamer where you're just like, I'll buy it on sale. Star Citizen is not going to go back on sale much outside of events. And even then we might see it go up, especially as you go forward. And as Chad is pointing out, plenty, there are free flies you can play for free.
Yeah.
But
use Paul's code. Use his referral
you can.
code.
It's down below,
Yes,
so you can use it. But I think this would be the year, especially if you've been holding back, this would be the year to do the free fly. This would be the year to pay attention to when Star Citizen has its free flies and try it. I am blown away by how good the performance has been with 4.0, and knowing that it's only going to improve from this, it's likely not going to degrade from this status. That's been the biggest complaint I've seen from people is like, I get 4 FPS, and it's like, whenever somebody comes in my chat, it's like Star Citizen runs on 2 FPS, and I'm like, was last time you paid attention to Star Citizen 2016? Because like it's improved.
It used to be like that.
It used to be like that.
Yeah.
So as a result, like if that's your biggest issue is performance, it's much better than it has been. And if you're in that sort of realm where you're like, I'd like to, because I'm used to early access games, yeah, start looking into it. But yeah, you were saying something
That including the chairman's letter, Chris Roberts' letter this year. I feel like that's a bit of a promise of like, hey, we want mainstream eyes, we want mainstream players, we want mainstream money, and we're going to make that happen this year through performance optimization. Because they hear us, they know, they play the game too, they understand that like I really wanted to get people in for this holiday. I had friends who were ready to play, people in my Discord and stuff, and I was like, we have to hold off. It's not time yet. So yeah, now's a good time to like get your accounts going. But like by next year, there's going to be some significant performance changes.
No.
I was going to say, you saying that because you said that they play. It reminded me that there's actually somebody in the YouTube chat who's the person who designed the exterior of the Polaris, who's hanging out in chat. So, and they thank you. They thanked you, Andy, for your kind words about the Polaris. So, I will also say,
I also really like mine. Just that's.
I will say,
beautiful ship.
Along with those lines, if you're still here, a lot. I know a lot of people say it's very extra. I'm like, it's okay to be extra. It's okay to.
For sure.
It's very detailed, and I love the very detailed nature of it because it makes it stand out so much more. So, all right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up the discussion section, and we're going to move on to the question and answer session. We have a hard limit with the question and answer session because both Humeka and Red Monster have prior obligations, so we're going to be pretty quick with these. So, but for those of you who are watching after the fact, thank you for watching. Make sure you can join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Would love you to come down and watch this live. We're going to be moving into what's been dubbed the After Dark section by folks, where we're going to take questions from the chat and just kind of answer as best we can. Make sure you check out Humeka. Make sure you check out My Radar, and make sure you check out Red Monster. Of course, check out Andy on Blue Sky as well. Yeah, I thank you for watching, and like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
Yeah, that goes.
Of course, I hit the wrong button because my stream deck decides to not work properly. There we go. All right, chat. We're going to use a few minutes to use the restroom, get something to drink, and then we'll be right into the question and answer sessions. Welcome back to the Captain's Table. What is it called? After Dark section, the Q&A section with Humeka, Red Monster SC, and Radar Ranger with Andy. We're taking questions from the chat. If you missed our discussion on 4.0, is it the best patch ever? Make sure you can check that out. I'll make a link. Make sure there's a link above Humeka's head. You just click that link and go straight there. and you'll be able to watch our takes on it. I think we had some good discussions, good nuanced takes, especially with 4.0 as it stands right now, as of January 11th, 2025. So, all right. With that all being said, let's jump right into the questions. The first question is from Northern Trooper, who asks, question for Humeka. How can we get Red Monster SC to watch Dimension 20 Starstruck Odyssey?
Watch night.
Watch night? Well,
Yeah, get a watch night going.
So is it, Red, you also do table TTRPGs. You've been trying to get our TTRPG crew together to do stuff for a couple of months now.
So, yeah, I didn't grow up doing TTRPGs, but a group of coworkers got together, and it's been about 8 years now that we've had a weekly game after work.
Oh my gosh.
There. So, if anybody has tried to run a table with a group of adults, they understand the sacrifices and pure madness that is trying to keep a group like that together for 8 years. But yeah, we alternate between DMs and stories and stuff, but it's been kind of consistent. Now, I did kind of get brought into it because of Critical Role, and that's one that Mrs. Red and I watched together. Yeah, we've got a backlog there, but also our eventually we can branch out into other groups.
I will say with Dimension 20.
I feel a little left out. What is Dimension 20?
Oh, Dimension 20.
What is it?
It's a TTRPG crew. I think they used to be part of Dropout. I think so.
Brendan Lee Mulligan, I think, is one of the most recognizable faces in that group, and he's super funny. He's super creative, amazing DM. Just a joy to listen to.
He's a great comedian. Yeah, he's a great comedian. It's funny because you watch Critical Role. He's actually done an interview with Matt Mercer where they sat down and talked about it. And he actually had Matt Mercer as a player at Dimension 20 for one of the tables. So,
nice.
And they've had some guest players exchanged throughout the years. So it's certainly one that's on the roadmap. But there's a content backlog for me, and
the one thing I will say about Dimension 20 is that they don't have these epic long seasons quite like Critical Role does. So they're much more consumable. Their content is it's like a television show.
Bigger bite size rather than getting into the entire Brandon Sanderson series.
Yes.
On the flip side, I'm not going to ever watch all Critical Role, though I love them dearly, and I'll pop in sometimes and watch one. It's just too much. But that's great, for everyone who has the time. I just don't. But yeah, I feel you. I've been in the same game for about a little over 2 years now, and that's been really special. My new work schedule is disrupting that a bit right now, and that game is actually viewable on YouTube. Not to plug too much, but yeah.
Sure. It's on your site, Humeka.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Called Zoshin Epoch.
What's it called?
Zoshin Epoch. So
Zoshin.
Xotian. It's my own homebrew. I wrote the setting. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we actually I used to do TTRPGs on this channel. The YouTube's still up there. It's The Spice Must Roll was the name of it. And we did things like the Expanse RPG. We did Wrath and Glory for Warhammer 40K. We've done I can't remember the name of it. It was one of those like generic stars without number, I think is what it was. This is a system.
Okay.
So mostly sci-fi stuff, but yeah. What is a TTRPG? That's a good point. It's a tabletop role-playing game. Dungeons and Dragons is probably the most common known TTRPG.
Yeah.
So
character sheets and dice. That's
imagination. All right, we'll move on to the next question. From Big George.
Big George
P. Will we see dynamic server meshing by the end of 2025?
Who's got a magic 8-ball?
I will. I can make a bold prediction. I will stand up and take it. I'll take that thing. I think we will 100%. Yes, we will see dynamic server meshing before the end of 2025. But caveat: it's going to be version 1. the basic version. I don't think we'll see anything more beyond that. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Chris said it himself, and I believe it to be true. The hard work is just getting the server meshing to work. Ideally, dynamic server meshing shouldn't really matter that much because the system's already being designed to work with transferring authority as they move across servers. All the other underlying stuff is still there. All they're doing with dynamic server meshing is changing. I'm probably definitely minimizing this a lot, but all they're really doing is changing the size and the frequency with which it might change. I don't think it's going to be a huge rocket science change to make it work. Yes, it's work and it's a little bit different, and they'll run into some edge cases and things like that they have to contend with. But I don't think it's going to be that challenging. And I think let's see. Let's come back here a year from now. Yeah. And yes, I think they're going to have it too. 100%.
The big thing to understand about version 1 of Dynamic is that version 1 of Dynamic is what we have right now for static, but they can change which region has which authority. So basically they can change the configuration on the fly, I believe is what it is. But it's the same configurations, it's just moving things around, like where the game goes, oh, this area needs more servers. So they just, change the servers or swap around who has what server. But it's still the same zones. It's just changing which server has which authority over which zones on the fly. If I remember correctly, I'm probably doing that completely wrong. And someone, please do tell me in the comments if I'm completely wrong.
I think the big issue is making new smaller servers when they're called for. So in other words, if there's an area that is really congested and there's a physical geographic area that's really congested, then they're going to wind up making multiple servers cover that one area, and that's really, I think, where hopefully it will shine.
Yeah, spooling up something new for density. Yeah.
They're going to use the same number of servers with Dynamic 1 is what I'm saying. So like if we have 10 servers for Pyro and 5 for Stand and 5 for Pyro now, they're not going to change that number. The number's going to stay the same, whatever it is. It's just where the servers are controlled. Well, with version 1, it's like just where the servers are and authority is going to change. So if like ArcCorp is super big, and there's like 500 people in ArcCorp because it's the IAE is being held there. Then what they'll do is they'll just say, okay, ArcCorp is his own server. And then then they distribute the different areas to different servers. So it's just the area itself becomes its own server. So it only has to focus on Area 18 ArcCorp rather than the rest of them. But they're not going to spin up new servers and spin down old servers. It's just balancing it. And that's what the dynamic allows them to do, because if they can balance it on the fly, then they can increase the server numbers. They can increase the number of people because there's always some trigger where the server can go, boop, change it around. So yeah, as a result, based off of their own statements as well, 100%, I believe they're going to have Dynamic 1 before the end of the year. I think you said yes as well, Red Monster, and I know Radar Ranger. So, how about you, Mecca? I think we're going to see Dynamic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just like nodding my head. Yeah, I believe so as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder how manual it will be, though. I would love to know. I'd love to hear that from them. Is like, are they having to assign someone to like observe the movements of players and assign regions and resize the servers? I'm not
sure.
That's
2.0. That's 2.0.
Yeah. I imagine that's what it is. Where it can do completely hands off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rich Trier up there pulling levers all day long, back and forth.
I doubt him, but yeah.
It's probably Bearded, unfortunately. It's probably Bearded and Ahmed who are just sitting there being like,
Too slow.
I could see IT being roped into that.
Yes. All right. Northern Trooper asks, how many hats does Andy have? More importantly, how many Star Citizen hats?
I have hats. I have 3 My Radar hats.
Uh-huh.
I have like 1 Star Citizen My Radar hat. I don't know if you can tell. This is
Damar?
Yellow.
Yellow. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yellow. Nice.
Yeah, let me see. Oh,
yeah, I can see it.
Right in the camera. Yeah.
It looks a little blue to me.
Yeah, it's supposed to be gray.
Bad joke, sorry.
Instead of yellow.
I didn't get that. I was very slow. I was gonna say no, it's the camera color. So, anyway, yes, that's the answer.
Okay. So
I got a Star Citizen hat from the show convention.
I'm going to ask the question that I don't think they've asked before. It's been asked before, but if CIG approached you and asked you to do a tie-in app with the current system for weather, would you still do it?
Hell yes. I'm working on a video about exactly that. I just finished the script a couple of weeks ago while I was on vacation on a flight, and I'm going to put out a video that goes into detail on what I would love to do with that. The answer is absolutely.
Okay.
You know, we had to stop it at the time just because the technology was changing so frequently underneath the hood, and it didn't make any sense for them to devote any efforts to it because it was really just like an experiment and a collaboration. But I firmly believe Star Citizen absolutely has to have a companion app, and that's what my video will be about. So we can talk about that at some point.
Sweet. All right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, do you think being a citizen by acquiring it from Squadron 42 will have opportunities that a non-citizen would not? Would that be from a form of pay to win to you?
I don't think it'll be
No, because you
good tier of citizen there, right? You'll have citizenship there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The non-citizen, yeah, they've talked about citizens being able to own and kind of reserve land and settle space, but it would be an interesting. I don't necessarily see it as a pay to win. They talk about you being able to have your journey for citizenship, but yeah, as far as if you earn it just through completing Squadron, I mean it's a trade-off. I think you achieve it through Squadron, or you have the other gameplay route to learn the ropes.
I kind of feel like there should be some. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, Himeki, you're going to say something about it?
Oh yeah, I was just saying, absolutely, it's not pay to win because you bought their other game and you had to play it to get that citizenship, and then once you're done with that, then that grants you the citizenship. It's not like you buy Squadron 42 and you're automatically a citizen. So
You still have to.
Either way, you're getting it through gameplay.
You still have to get good.
Yeah, get good, noob. Go
Fair.
have fun. Play the game.
Andy?
Yeah, I just think there should be some unique achievement. Yeah, to from citizenship from the game from Squadron 42. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
should encourage you to play it.
I don't think it's pay to win because hopefully by the time we see Squadron 42 out, we'll have that main story in some way, shape, or form, which means people will have an idea of what that main story is going to look like. And remember, they said it's going to take like 30 to 40 hours for the main story of Star Citizen, and then they said that Squadron 42 is going to be at 30 to 40 hours. So it's if they allow you to get citizenship with Squadron 42, it's just more like, do you want to play the main story or do you want to play Squadron 42? And gives options, and it's fine because they also said they wanted to do other ways of doing citizenship as well, not just the main story. So it'll be interesting to do good. So
maybe breaking records or something, or doing something massively impactful to the UEE gets you citizenship or something like that. Would be cool.
I'd love to see that, like participating in a defense of Stanton from Xenothreat in some epic way or something like that. So
yeah, like a month-long event or something that is like literally real time or something. That would be cool.
All right, next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, to Andy, as a CEO, what is your perspective on the leadership changes within CIG recently? How do you see it being impacting on game development and content delivery for Star Citizen and Squadron 42?
I saw that question come up. It's a really good question. Star Citizen has been in development for 12 years, and that is a really long time in the tech industry. And so, if you imagine someone staying in one job, especially in the tech industry, for that long, it's kind of uncommon. So you can just totally understand a little bit of a change of hands just for that reason alone. Carl Jones was one of the guys who left recently, and we worked with him when we first started on that collaboration. He was a very nice guy. I'm really grateful to the help that he gave us when we got started on it. If I was going to say something kind of cautiously, clearly CIG was working on Squadron 42 for a while, and the PU and Star Citizen was kind of not really an afterthought, but kind of took a back burner a little bit. I think now that the 1.0 is in the sights and they have a focus and a goal to get towards that release, it absolutely is understandable that shuffling the crew a little bit in order to make sure that new minds are freshly focused on that and to sort of break out of maybe old habits is absolutely warranted. I think Rich Trier is an amazing guy. He's incredibly smart. And Rich, if you're listening, I was talking to one of the devs at CitizenCon. I won't name his name, but he made a comment that said that Richard Trier is just as every bit as inspirational as Chris Roberts is. Richard came up through the ranks and is clearly one of the driving forces, I think, behind them getting that target set up in a bullseye of a 1.0 release and getting those game loops tied together so that they all have a purpose and they all, drive each other. I imagine that a lot of the change up is probably as a result of that new focus. And so I think it's a good thing. I think I think absolutely it should impact, gameplay and Star Citizen development. That's arguably why they probably made the changes in the first place. I think it's a good thing. We'll find out this year if they're able to continue to marching towards this 1.0 release and we get some of the things that they promised. They've been developing a game and now they have to make it work together.
Yeah,
and make it stable. So
I will kind of caveat to that, or add to that as well. Even like just today, in modern days, how working for more than 5 years in a company is very unusual. I work in the public sector as a teacher, and I have worked long enough in my current school where I am a grizzled veteran compared to a lot of the other teachers. And I haven't even been there for 10 years. I've been there, I'll be 10 years as of next year. But as of like 2 years ago, when I was like a 7-year teacher at the school, I was already being looked up to as the person who knew all these things. And I'm like, I still don't know what I'm doing. What are you talking about? Why are you looking at me for these things? So I can understand, because I think one of the guys who left was the person who's spearheading server meshing. And, he was an R&D guy. And so when server meshing is done, I imagine he was just like, my job's done. I've built the tech. Now I'm going to hand it off to the folks who are going to be finishing up, because there's specialties, people do different things. It's one of the reasons why, unfortunately or fortunately, pretty much in the games industry, when a project is completed, people move on from that project and move to another project, or have to get shuffled around, because, when the skills it takes to build one thing aren't the same skills that build everything else. And so if you don't have the skills to continue on, or you don't even have the desire to, because it's still a passion driven industry, people want to care about what they're doing, then you may not go. So, yeah. All right, moving on to the next question, because we're kind of, we do have a time limit for this one. Oh, next one is from Radar Ranger. Says, dude, that's an awesome question. I can't wait to get to it. Northern Trooper asks, rehash question, but I'm curious from the panel. Sorry, Paul. Question. This week I was traveling from New Babbage to Bloom in Pyro in a single seat ship, no bed. It took me 20 minutes until I had to AFK to deal with my kids. When I came back, I was kicked due to idle. When I relogged back in the PU, I was put back in New Babbage, losing my progress in the travel. In 2025, do you think CIG will revisit the rules of idle kick this year? Red Monster, I'll start with you on this one.
Ooh. Well, first, North End, you should know better than fly in a ship without a bed. As an adult playing video games, you're going to get interrupted. So that one is entirely on you, North End, but I heart you. Second off, I do feel like it is kind of ironic that they will have server login queues for 20 plus minutes, but a 10-minute timeout. So I do think they will need to, I think it's worth it reevaluating, especially now that we have higher server caps. When we had 15-player servers, absolutely. If you were AFK for 5 minutes, somebody else needs that spot. But the way that things are running now, the sizes we have available to us, I think, it makes sense to revisit. But
awesome. Himeka, your thoughts on that? Idle kick. Do you think they're going to revisit that?
I would hope so. Just because of the nature of the game, how long it takes, traveling long distance as well between systems. Say like you're riding in someone's ship, and they're taking you from Microtech to Terminus. That's 15 minutes plus. So you might actually get kicked while you're flying along. I don't know if they have anything in place to like keep you from being dropped in quantum or anything like that. Honestly, I was thinking a pause button. I realize it's a multiplayer game, but like a pause button of sorts, a option when you click escape that says like I'll be back in 5 or something like that. Hold my place, keep me loaded in, keep things rendered, or find me a new server when I do come back. That'd be really, really useful, especially for those kinds of things. And then like maybe after an hour or two of being in that state, then it kicks you. But
I've joked about this for a while, but I actually think this would be a good idea. They have bathrooms.
yeah,
Just have a bathroom be an AFK. Where you're sitting
yeah,
on
it could be a spawn closet. I like that.
You just go to the bathroom. You
You've been
sit
in there
down
for a while.
you sit down on the seat. You close the door, and that sets you as a I can't. I'm idling for a bit, and then
Yeah,
You just
that's fantastic.
you hear a shout across Discord voice. I'm going off campus.
Yeah. What about you, Radar? Do you think this year we're going to see any changes to idle kick? So,
Look, I think we got to look at the real problem here. The problem isn't the idle kick. Those are understandable because you really don't want people tying up a server spot. The problem is getting people to be able to come back into the game where they left off.
Okay.
And that is something the CIG has acknowledged that they want to tackle. So in other words, okay, yes, I go to the bathroom, I get idle kicked and logged off. I shouldn't have to start over at a station again. I should be able to come back in where I was and kind of pick up and leave, take off from where I left. And that essentially addresses the problem and solves the whole server capacity issue. They did say that they wanted to kind of relook at this whole bed log thing. Bed logging should be for when you want to log off safely and make sure that nobody's going to attack you after you log out. You should have, like in many of the other MMO games, you should have the ability to kind of disconnect and accept that you're going to be vulnerable for like a minute or so afterwards. Somebody could theoretically attack your character, while you're logged out for that time frame. And that would essentially solve the problem because then you can just, you get disconnected, great, come back in and pick up where you left off.
Talking about like true persistence and such, I get it. I think the other thing that might be helpful are things like being able to prioritize getting yourself back into the same server, so that if you get dropped, you get back put back in, so it's not just randomized. Those sorts of little issues, but I'm sure a lot of that is back end improvements, and I really do hope you're right that we see true persistence in the game where you crash out, you log out, and you come back in, you're in the same place, even if you're at a different server. But we have to see.
Especially if you server hopped to find a healthy server and that took you a while.
Mhm.
Like that just sucks
Yeah.
when you just leave for just like 15 minutes and 3 seconds.
Yes, we've
It
all been
just
there.
sucks.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Escape, who asks, "What kind of reputation systems do you think we need ASAP? How would you like to see them implemented? Brainstorm possible requirements." Andy, I'll start with you on this one.
I'm going to take a weird answer to this, and I'm going to say we need org reputation systems. Reputations within an org. Because they showed off all that cool, juicy org gameplay and functionality at CitizenCon. That's what I want to see. Like, I get the industry reputation and all that. That stuff is good, and it seems to work. I'm not even sure if I'm answering the question right or if I'm interpreting it right, but that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
It's the same thing. Yeah, you're talking about reputation systems. Do we need, Himeka, same question to you. What kind of reputation systems do you think we need right away? And how would you like to see them implemented?
Just riffing off what Radar just said, they being able to have inside your org our own personal orgs, being able to have those roles, those ranks, and not just ranks, but have like assignments of like what this person generally likes to specialize in would be super useful for maintaining things. Right away, though, what we need is reputation that functions between all factions within the game that exists. Citizens of Pyro, Headhunters, Ninetales, everything. That all needs to be functioning. That's what I think should be immediate, because we're talking about making a game that people from outside our little bubble can come and enjoy.
Yeah.
It's weird that only 2 work, you know?
Yeah. The repetition hostility system, the one they are apparently already have in the game, that's what we need, in my opinion. Yeah. Which is what you just said. Same. Just like, if I'm doing missions for TC Pacheco, I should be pissing off a lot of people, just because I'm doing those missions. And then those people send hitmen after me. The classic, Bethesda style, or I think it's in Fable. It's a lot of like RPGs where if you have a faction, if you side with one faction, the other factions are going to start trying to kill you because you're siding with that faction.
And there's a little bit of that, but just expand that, make it function, bug fix, that sort of thing.
Red Monster, same question to you. What kind of reputation systems do you want to see?
I mean, I had thoughts, but damn, like Andy with the org reputation, like that is absolutely what you need, right? As an org leader, I want to be able to go through and assign reputation points for people who participate in events, right? And be able to award reputation and then have that be something they can get some benefits from. Long term, that's coming, right? And I'm excited to see how that's going to work long term. But yeah, it's out there still. The sooner they can get it in, I think the better that the in-game org system and the more important orgs are going to be. And it ties in really well. Like my hard cutoff today is actually we're kind of hosting an org summit for my group that talks about our plans for the future. And it would, that's absolutely part of our long-term strategy, is to manage our within org and also between org reputation. So that's just good answer. The other, I think there's some reputation already, but yeah, we need to be able to see if there's a player who's out there and continually doing, assassination missions and stuff throughout Stanton. They shouldn't be able to hack away a crime stat. Like there's got to be some reputation tied to that in a long term. So,
I will also say the thing that I'm looking forward to, the thing I want to see with reputation this year, is you go to meet up a friend with some location, like, hey, we're gonna go meet up at this location specifically, and you show up, and the friend shows up and sits down in like the bar or at the rally location, and then has a realization like, oh, these people want to kill me, and then have that panic, like, why is everyone kind of starting to get guns and move towards me? Oh wait, I'm wanted by these people. I should have chosen a different location.
You walked into the wrong bar.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like
it got quiet.
Yeah,
yeah.
That sort of realization that as a player that realizes that their actions have consequences. That's what I'm looking forward to. If your actions have consequences in Star Citizen in 2025, I will be a happy bubber. So, all right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, with some talks about cheating in contested zones, do you feel CIG should put a priority of in-game reporting systems? Hands down, yes, but that's just more than just that. Like, we also need our mute in-game. I need to be able to block people in public chat, because that place is a toxic sludge heap that everyone turns off immediately. What do you think?
Sorry, I'm going to chime in here. I'm feeling strongly about this one. I think what we need is more of a transactional log of interactions that have happened. If there's a player that shoots you down, you've got maybe a 5-second window when that pop-up happens. If you don't spawn in, you can't see who it was that killed you. Mm-hmm. Right? We need a transactional log or some way to go be able to find that, as long as it makes sense. To have that information. The same thing for like credit transfers, right? But you need to be able to have that first, and the ability for blocking and reporting in game. It needs to be a priority if the game's going to be successful as an MMORPG. Because right now Pyro, it's a lawless, just murder hobo central, and you sign up for that. But at the same time, if you're getting gate camped by somebody, you want to be able to figure out who they are, who they're representing, and try and work that. If there's somebody in there that's cheating, maybe it's having better visibility to just avoid it, right? Get into another shard or whatever to avoid someone who's obviously exploiting something that's broken within the game.
Andy, your thoughts?
I'm gonna twist the answer a little bit. I'm gonna say that they need to tackle the cheating. The one he mentioned specifically in his question was the contested zones, and I watched the video on it. The way they're doing it is they're clipping through the station geometry on the outside, and when you clip in through it, it basically gives you almost this god mode because you can see all of the rooms in the contested zones, and you basically kind of fumble your way towards the key rooms, the room where you get the card. And they need to be able to find a way to prevent clipping in general. Right now it's a risk that somebody could clip into your Polaris while you're out there and come up and shoot you in the head from behind. You fall through planets accidentally. I would be very curious to see what their long-term plan is, and I posted this thread on this in Spectrum. So if anybody wants to go upvote it, it's in Spectrum under my handle. I asked them whether or not they had any long-term plans for being able to address the clipping, because unless they do in a rock-solid way, people just use it to cheat. So that's my answer.
Yeah, CIG is also very gun shy on handing out bans, which I think is a problem. They need to be more active in swinging that hammer, because you're going to hit some people who shouldn't be hit, but you can always mea culpa and bring them back if it becomes too much of a problem. But if you're too shy with that hammer, sometimes people are just going to get away with murder all the time, and by the time you actually have to do something, it's going to be a huge issue, and you don't want that to happen. So, Mac, your thoughts on the whole situation?
So this brought me back to I think it was last week. I was playing Contested Zones with Yo-Yo Meg and her crew, and we were talking about how people are using third person to look around corners and stuff. They'll like have someone posted up in a corner of a room, and they'll go into third person and use that to observe the situation and get view outside of what they would normally be able to. I feel like that's things like this are things that need to be solved for situations like you're going into an instance, you're going into contested zones. At the point you reach that threshold, you should no longer be able to go into third person. That was our solution for that kind of thing, was just like, once you're there, turn it off. Don't even let it happen. You're stuck in first person at that point. Little things like that need to be looked at, as far as like not necessarily making the game fair, but making it harder for people to cause problems.
I would love for like third person to actually be and I think I will say this with confidence that I believe most people who do like screenshots and machinima content for Star Citizen would love to have a camera drone. To have a third person camera that would be cool. Be an attachment, like, something you can carry in your backpack, or you carry instead of a main weapon. So if you hit the third person version, it pops up as like a little FPV drone, which you can see around the same way it works.
So how do you keep that from being used to cheat?
Because you could see the drone.
Kill the drone. I like that idea.
Just like they do in Jersey.
Yeah. So you see the drone, you see this little buzz thing coming out around the corner. You go, oh, someone's peeking. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's smart.
Because that's how
animation, when you go into third person, you like pull a drone off your chest or whatever, you throw it up into the air, and now you're in a locked third person behind your player.
Yeah. And that also solves the problems of people who want to do glory shots and that kind of stuff, because you got a camera, you can have a camera you can use. And the other thing about that whole is that that's how MechWarrior does it, where like when you go third person, a drone actually pops out of your mech, and you can actually see it flying around. So you can see someone.
I gotta try it.
If someone comes over a wall, like if you see someone, if you're like over a ridge and there's someone on the other side, you don't know where, you can see the drone hovering because it's got a little beeping light on it. So it shows you where you're supposed to, where it is. So
I love that. Yeah. That's a great system.
There are solutions to the problem of those sorts of things that CIG could do. And CIG is clever enough that I'm sure they can do something like that, especially if they're doing drone stuff for the construction. Because construction.
Yeah.
All right. Northern Trooper asks, why has Andy not gotten an RSI gaming chair to replace his current one?
I'm due. Like, this thing's falling apart. A little black stuff is all over my floor. My armrests are broken. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I recently
got
the same thing, but I decided not to go with the gaming chair because I hate gaming chairs. I feel like they're awful for your for your.
Same. I have a pretty busted back. I can't use gaming chairs.
How much
I
are
do need
those?
a new chair.
Aren't they like $400 to get those RSI chairs?
Yeah, I think the Monster Tech are about 400.
Yeah. Oh, they're made by Monster Tech. Nice.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. All right. Big George P asks, when do you think we will see Star Sim, formerly Quantum, added to make the gameplay more dynamic? Before I answer this question, I will say it's already in the game. Star Sim does exist. It currently runs all of the repair and refuel for everywhere you go. So the question, I think, is more, when will it be an impact? When do you think we're going to see it beyond its current status? Red Monster, I'll ask you because I'm sure you have opinions on it.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why salvage was such a pain, because you get all your RMC and you couldn't sell it because people were duping RMC and selling masses of those, and the demand was just disappearing. So, yeah, it's there. It's showing the flaws and the exploits in the game and trying. It requires balancing, but it's there. So.
You, Mecca?
Well, it's directly tied to crafting. So I would say if they want crafting to have balance, which they don't have to deliver crafting, it does not need balance to be delivered. Those don't need to be there. But I imagine that they'll want to tie those in pretty quickly instead of having to maintain it separately. I'm hoping soon. I'm not really considering it to be a 2025 thing.
I'd love to see it.
I imagine it's after.
I'd love to see it in 2025 because I also know that it's connected to the mission system, because the missions will propagate based off of the Star Sim. So, and I know
it'll probably be a trickle, like
Yeah.
little bits will show up more and more. It won't be just a giant release.
I know Koaku Elliot has you know how John Crew for the longest time would stare at the dynamic damage system, like the armor and stuff like that, and be like, "Oh, this is my albatross around my neck. I got to figure out how to make this work." I feel like the mission system and this dynamic Star Sim stuff is Elliot's sort of, keeps him up at night sort of thing. How am I going to make this work properly and such? So,
I think there's a reason they're being quiet about it. They just have not been chirping about it too much lately.
No.
So.
Oh yeah, I think there's definitely a reason why, and if they're not talking about it, it usually doesn't mean that they're not working on it. It means it's not ready.
It's not
plugging
making
away.
motions. It's not ready to talk about.
Andy, how about you? When do you think we're going to see more information about Star Sim?
Yeah, I might not put as big of a bet on that one being out fully in 2025. I agree with you. I think it's in place now to some degree. One of the biggest hurdles I think that they needed to kind of get in place before they could do a lot more work on it is server meshing and some of the database improvements that they had. That's my guess. The shard concepts. But yeah. I think I'd be hopeful that they add more integrations with it this year, but to the extent that it is what they showed off when Tony Z demoed the fancy screens at CitizenCon back in 2019, 2018, whenever it was, that I don't know. I don't know if that'd be right away.
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. We're going to go through some of these pretty quickly. I'm going to kind of go, just jump around a little bit to get some of the quicker ones. Walter Hack asks, was the Misk Fortune in the sneak peek this week? If you've seen it.
That's what Reddit says.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
It's definitely a Misk ship of some kind. And someone asked if it may be a freelancer remake. And it's like, nah, it doesn't look like a freelancer remake because there's like a window at the bottom of one of the walkways, which is very similar to the Starlancer and how it has the sort of views. So yeah, it's definitely a Misk ship. Whether it's the supposed Misk Fortune, probably, I guess, or the Misk salvage ship. Wyatt Hutchinson asks, will any progression in 4.0.1 be saved when it moves to live? No, not with PTU, because it's just PTU.
PTU never does.
Yeah. All right, now that's pretty quick. 1, 2. Oh yeah, then ask the same question. Will the progression be achieved in 4.0 preview be saved into 4.0.1 live?
Yes.
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 And
Unless there's something totally breaking in their database, yes.
And they've even said that recently that they still plan on doing that, and they'll let us know if there's a wipe. And further, as another has asked, is there progress in for 4.0 PTU be saved into 4.0.1 live PU now? So yeah. All right. With those out of the way, we've got three questions. The first one being from Zen Yen Ben, who asks, in the future, do you think that industrial ships should have a different insurance system to combat ships? It costs $500K for laser modules, gadgets, etc., and hard to make money without them. Red, I'm going to ask you this one. Do you think we're going to see a different tier, different versions?
They've already kind of roadmapped the tiers of insurance that they're going to have available. One is just the chassis, which is what our lifetime insurance is going to be. There is also the chassis and upgrades and various levels of coverage there. So they've talked about there being an insurance plan that will cover the specific ship upgrades, and that's something you definitely want if you're spending hundreds of thousands of credits to outfit your ship. So, I think with the current tiers that they've talked about, I think they've got a mechanic for it. It's not implemented yet, but if you are getting yourself into a situation like that, your best bet's to do insurance claims. So,
Radar.
I'm going to echo what Red just said, because the insurance claim stuff that they just talked about is hopefully going to address all that. So you'll have those tiers that get you what you need.
Himeka?
Also echoing the same sentiment. Also, there's been some interesting changes. I saw on Captain Foxy Loxy's channel that he was talking about how things were like for a moment there when you claimed you could actually get like your FPS weapons back and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that should be a part of it in my mind, but I guess they could like add something like that into it if you have equipment that you're using in your ship in addition to the things that are attached, because those things are already covered. So.
Yeah.
Foxy, you are the man. I watch your stuff. You are like taking it for the team.
Also, honestly.
I will. There's someone said in chat there might be different rates. There may be in the future, but that's a different discussion. I don't think there'll be different tiers or anything like that. Generally speaking, I hope CIG, which seems like what they are doing, is kind of ape what we see in Elite Dangerous in terms of how refunding works and how you get stuff back, because there's and I think in Eve is similar, is like don't fly what you can't afford. So if you can't afford a buyback, don't fly it. So those sorts of things, because there will always be consequences. There will always be risk and rewards in Star Citizen, and that should always be brought into the factor when it comes to insurance, because there should be some like, hey, something weird happened and you blew up. Okay, well, it sucks, but here's a little bit back, even if it's not a bug. Like you just unluckied into a pirate fleet. Well, it happens. Here you go.
Detecting unlucky things would be nice. I don't know if they have anything in place that can do that, but in the future, I do hope that they create systems that are better at detecting those kinds of things.
Yeah. But I mean more like a system that is designed to not be punitive because you die, but to still have consequences because you're still dying, like a system that's designed where like if you do it once, it's not the end of the world. It sucks, but it's like, well, go back to, it's kind of like going back to the old checkpoint that I just missed. Whatever, versus like throwing your headset across the room, financially ruined at the end of everything. So
to be clear, I want those situations. We do need those situations. You need
rage
those, like,
throw.
I'm gonna rage because I fucked up.
There's got to be risk, right? Right.
Risk makes the game.
But that should be like long term, not like it happens once and now I will never financially recover from this situation.
Yeah, it needs to be communicated to you. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you are risking and have that clearly in your mind while you do it.
Yeah.
However that's communicated.
All right, so this is the last question, which is, oh no, that's the second to last question, which I think is an interesting one. I've not heard of this, but Ryoshima asks, with the showing of PUBG Ally AI, do you think we may be on the verge of seeing DIY generative AI crewmates in the verse? Now, I'm wondering if he's talking about doing this as a CIG sanctioned thing, or if this is a sort of a multi-boxing style where people create their own AI and have it fly as a crew member in a different account. I think I don't know.
I'm a little ignorant to what it is.
Yeah, so I don't know what the PUBG Ally AI is. But
I'm gonna Google it now. I'll tell you.
Yeah, because
Okay.
go ahead.
Knowing a bit about how AI functions and stuff, I don't think that's going to be very feasible.
Mhm.
Especially if you're using like separate accounts to run things, like it has to be trained. Like it has to have buckets and buckets and buckets of data to even like begin a semblance of anything I don't think any community member is going to be able to do anything like that, to be honest. AI is not that advanced, folks. It creates static, and then it learns how to create that static into something that you can see and understand as a picture. Like it's not that smart.
Yeah, so I'm looking it up. Apparently, it's NVIDIA. It's an NVIDIA project where they partnered with PUBG specifically to create an AI that follows you around. The problem I have with this is that's just an NPC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just an NPC. In terms of actual usable in game, if CIG is going to do anything with especially with generative AI, like with using large language models, CIG is going to do it themselves. They'd have to, as you said, they'd have to do buckets of information, and CIG would have to put a lot of time and energy into it. So I don't see CIG doing anything with generative AI because it's such a...
I got to tell you, that would be such a cool idea, though, because we've been playing with that a little bit. And if they did take the time, of anybody who would, it would be CIG. Because if they invested the effort into, getting that kind of interactivity with NPCs, that could be a bit of a game changer, to abuse the term.
I could see it, but the question is it worth as much time and effort as just building a system yourself and then having a writer write the lines?
Yeah,
you're asking the guys who rewrote CryEngine.
Yeah.
Traditional NPC programming has been around a long time, and it's pretty functional when it does work. I don't know that adding the noise of AIs, like generative AI, is worth it.
Yeah,
but that's for CIG to determine.
And at the end of the day, CIG is not going to use ChatGPT. It's like that's a public surface, because anything that's added to, if like they decided to use ChatGPT, they would have to add their information to a very publicly open sourced system, which they are very against. So they'd have to
probably
build
have their
themselves.
own models.
Yeah. So.
A side note, I did a quick Google on PUBG Ally AI and ended up in a very dark place under something called dead internet theory.
Have you not heard of the dead internet theory?
No, but I have now, and I feel very.
I'll give you
I want to pull up my blanket.
I will give you the shortest version, which is we're all artificial intelligence. None of this is real. You were in the matrix.
It's worth your time.
It explains Twitter. It explains Twitter.
Yes. Bots talking to bots. But it's a theory that actually goes to the earliest days of the internet. The dead internet theory is like late 90s is when it first came up.
I did not know.
Yeah.
Threads introduced for a brief moment a flood of their own bots talking to each other, and it just sort of destroyed the platform for a moment. Then they pulled it, and they were like very open about it. And the plan, it seems, is to bring it back in subtly to like fill. And there's even like this app where you can like pretend you're on social media and you're just talking to generative AI. I don't get it. I want to interact with humans, honestly.
Yes. I don't know where they're going with it.
All right, the last question is from Renamon MC, who asks, when will transitioning server into quantum become unnoticeable? To a degree, it already is. It's just not always the case.
I drop out less like from the beginning of playing 4.0 P2 then to preview early, it was like every time like you could know exactly where the hard line was where the server was changing. Now it's like 1 in 10 times, 1 in 5 times. So it
Um,
Yeah,
already is.
I haven't
Don't know
dropped
when
out at
it'll
all
leave.
after Evocati.
yeah. Monster,
Okay.
what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as the transition there happens, it's obviously one of the metrics I think they're going to be trying to keep an eye on, performance wise, and it's something they're going to tune out. It will eventually become something that won't be noticeable.
Yeah.
But that's all based on polishing of how server meshing works. So
Possibly, it'll probably always still be there in some way, shape, or form. It'll happen randomly, be like, oh, I must have moved servers. But I think hopefully by the end of this year, it'll be like a rare occurrence where it happens. You're like, oh gosh, I must have hit a server boundary. That's what just happened, versus something that happens enough that you know exactly what's happening all the time. So
It never happened. Should never happen.
should never happen. But like,
Let's hope.
I don't know if that'll be the end of
Yeah.
this year. I think that's a 1.0 thing. But yeah, so that's the last question. Thank you so much for joining us, because I know Red Monster's got to go, and I know Himeka's got to go, and I'm having my birthday celebration because I turned
Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
38 last week.
okay.
So
Oh, okay. Yours was last
Happy
week. Because mine
birthday.
was yesterday, and
Okay.
yeah, we're
Happy birthday
like
to you,
almost birthday
Woo!
neighbors.
happy birthday to you, Red Monster.
Pretty-
You know,
pretty close.
you and I both have that wonderful syndrome of
Yeah.
Christmas comes
So-
around. Here's your Christmas and birthday present.
Yes, it's the same credit card bill between both.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, but if you enjoyed this, make sure you check out Himeka on Twitch and YouTube. Make sure you check out Red Monster on Twitch and YouTube, and make sure you check out my Radar for Radar Ranger, and of course him on Blue Sky, and Himeka on Blue Sky as well. Yeah, if you enjoyed this, please hit that follow button here on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. And if you're watching this on the recorded side, please hit that like button and subscribe to the Captain's Table podcast. That is, again, for those of you who are watching live, youtube.com/@the Captain's Table podcast. It is in the top comment, or it's in the top in the description down below for you to go there to subscribe to that. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of January, hopefully, because we're already at almost 500. And we've definitely seen more people coming in there to watch it. So thank you for watching. If you are one of those folks, please comment down below your own questions or thoughts on anything we had. And like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. Oh, it did it again. My stream deck is just twitching out. So.
Okay.
Let's find someone to raid, chat. Let's find someone to raid. All right.